This is Tom Doody, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Doody in a Google search for my site. This is One American Looks in the Mirror. This is a series. I've repeated this. This will be the sixth. That's more than five. That's not cinco, that's seis. This is seis space. This is the sixth time. And I'll explain why I'm doing this at the end. So in my YouTube channel, there are five. This will be the sixth YouTube video. That's One American Looks in the Mirror. Begin by reading the words of Markus Feldenkirchen. Afterwards, I make it clear that I'm finished with his words, and I begin my own comments. Markus Feldenkirchen is a media pro. He's attached to Spiegel.com. This text appeared on Spiegel.com. Spiegel.com is a digital offshoot of Der Spiegel. Both publications primarily publish in German, in the German language, and Markus is in Washington, D.C. He's written, Confronting the Past, America Finally Turns Its Attention to Rampant Racism, and this was on June the 26th of 2015 when it posted on Spiegel.com. I found it in the days after, and was struck by the text. It is poignant. It is critical yet gentle. He makes his point beautifully, and it's a major point. The United States excels at dealing with injustices of other countries. They often even help other countries to cope with their shameful past. Germany will always be grateful to the U.S. for sending American troops across the Atlantic to defeat the Nazis, and for insisting that Germans be held accountable for the crimes they committed. The Nuremberg trials gave Germans the opportunity to own up to what they had done. They could no longer deny it. The U.S. has been less successful, however, in conducting the same process when addressing the dark parts of its own past. This includes the treatment of Native Americans who were brutally repressed or even killed in order to clear way for Western expansion. They were betrayed, neglected, and disrespected. Today they live on reservations in some of the saddest living conditions the civilized world has to offer. Americans seem even more forgetful when it comes to the history of blacks who were once snatched from their homes, forced into ship galleys, and kept like animals for centuries. Even after the end of the Civil War, the official abolition of slavery, it took another century before the discriminatory racial laws were finally officially lifted. To this day, the U.S. has never issued a formal apology, nor made any attempts at redress, let alone compensation. Instead, many patterns of institutionalized racism still exist. When a clean break with the past is not made, it may become difficult for people to part with their old ways of thinking. Indeed, not only do Americans continue to hold twisted notions of superiority of whites, but these beliefs often go unchallenged. Imagine 150 years have passed since the American Civil War ended. And only now has a national debate begun on whether some of the symbols of the South are inappropriate. 9 black people had to die in Charleston, executed by a white Nazi, adorned with a Confederate flag and other symbols of alleged white supremacy. It seems that there was never a thought given to the fact that the South went to war against the North in order to defend the right to continue to hold blacks like animals, to put them in chains and beat them when they were down. How is it that for many politicians, the American citizen, the flag has only now become a little embarrassing. Why are people only now asking whether it is really a good idea to name streets and public spaces after the greatest general in the fight for slavery? They may have been brave soldiers, but if they were fighting for a despicable cause, they should not have monuments built in their honor, unless, of course, we believe that what they stand for is really not so reprehensible. On the Mall in Washington, and not somewhere in Germany, one can find one of the best, most poignant Holocaust museums in the world, yet similarly impressive museums dedicated to the history of slavery, to racist policies throughout America, history, the treatment of Native Americans are missing. Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence, is enshrined on the Mall in a monument fit for a deity. The fact that Jefferson himself was also a brutal slave owner is something one only learns at his former estate in Monticello. Perhaps not surprisingly, that fact is not prominently displayed. To date, Americans' treatment of its own dark past is so ignorantly passive, so intentionally vague, so in denial that it begs the question, do the majority of Americans feel any guilt or acknowledge any wrongdoing toward blacks and Native Americans? Every nation has dark spots in its past, and nowhere are those spots darker than in Germany. However, the greatest country is reflected in how it deals with the past and whether it critically examines it. In that respect, the United States is not the great nation it believes itself to be. And fiend. And fiend. Words of Markus Feldenkirchen. Beginning. Words of Tom Doody. This text by Markus is just striking. I first read it in the days after it posted 6/26/2015, so it's now not yet 2 months old. In fact, my time with it is probably only about 5 weeks. I have recorded it 5 times. This will be the 6th time. I did it more than that. I had 1 or 2 tech problems and had to delete them. So I've read it more times, but I have 5 successful posts on my YouTube channel. This is the 6th. Hopefully this will work. I've had success in this location before. I don't doubt it'll work this time. The words of Markus are not becoming stale. Just the opposite. This short blast of text is fresh. In addition to the alleged white supremacists who shot black people as they gathered in their church on a Bible study on a Wednesday night, in addition to that crime against black people for being black people, has been in our news numerous times. So again, when it happens, it feels fresh. Now this week, a couple days ago, Japan was being blasted, not nearly as critical as Markus has done with the United States, but this was BBC. This was, again, a European country blasting a not European country. It was BBC reporter exposing a Japanese candidate who is harnessed some popularity by denying historic fact, by denying some of Japan's aggressive, abusive military past. And this is the colonization, the conquering of the Korean Peninsula and part of China in the years that led up to the atomic bomb and World War II. Pearl Harbor, World War II, the atomic bomb. So, so all of a sudden, Marcus's words seem fresh again. Marcus talks about monuments, and in the BBC report about Japan is a monument to the comfort women in Seoul, South Korea. Now, again, just like the U.S. has built monuments, museums to the Holocaust, reflecting the crimes of the Holocaust, and Marcus comments on that here, but has not built a museum itself, monuments itself, paying tribute, memorializing, bringing attention to uh, the horrors of slavery and a century of Jim Crow, separate but equal. The United States has not done that. Well, Japan has not done that. However, South Korea has. Seoul, South Korea, a monument to the comfort women who were forced into sex slavery for the benefit, for the comfort, for the sexual favors, sexual servicing of the Japanese soldiers while they were in South Korea. The sex slaves included Japanese women, Chinese women, and Korean women. It is a bitter topic. It comes into the news in ways with seething emotion. It is the kind of conflict that could destroy modern civilization. Look at the number of people and the military might of China and those three countries, the growing economic power and the damage they could do to destroy one another in much of the world. And to look at that political tension that they've had over so many years, and then to look at Japan's refusal to acknowledge that this happened when it's an undeniable historic fact. It didn't have the equivalent of the Nuremberg trials in Germany that essentially found the Nazis guilty in a formalized hearing, yet there is evidence that is undeniable. So people who deny it not because the evidence is unconvincing. They deny it because they want to deny it. They deny the comfort women. They deny other atrocities of Japan's aggressive military practices. So here's what I'm saying. People can believe versions of history given the emotional agreement with their way of thinking. Kids can believe in Santa Claus. Their parents are credible. Their parents are lying. I was left with my daughter who was beyond the Santa Claus believing years, and I showed her a picture of her sitting on my lap when I was Santa. And I said to her, this would have been in, she was 10. Does the word gullible come to mind when you see this picture? And she said, does the word liar come to mind when you see this picture? So we laugh about kids believing in Santa Claus. It's absolutely ridiculous fairy tale, but they really want to. And the people who are the perpetrators of this lie are credible. It's their parents. So now you got a bunch of Japanese people who are basically believing in Santa Claus. And this candidate, I assume he's perhaps a candidate for a new political party, or perhaps he's a candidate for an established political party. But one way or another, he's got a significant amount of a population in Japan in his support. And he is parents lying to kids. He's telling them there's a Santa Claus. In this case, he's denying that this vicious, divisive war crimes happened. He's denying it, and it's ludicrous. It's an embarrassment to educated people who believe it. It's like the flat world people. Okay, the world's not flat, but people can convince themselves that it is. We got people who deny the Holocaust. So to look at Marcus's words and to read them and see that he's critical of my country, and to get upset by that and deny it like the Japan movement is denying the comfort women, like some Holocaust deniers deny the Holocaust. It is absolutely ridiculous. Let's come to terms with the past. And that's exactly what I'm doing with this series. I'm here at Jose Marti Park. Jose Marti is a controversial political revolutionary himself. Uh, by some, he's a hero of Cuba, a liberator, a revolutionary, and to others, he did nothing more than disrupt the government system and bring in a decade of a Colonel Batista, who was a bastard. And on the heels of Batista, we end up with Fidel and Che and their amigos. So some people see Jose Marti as not worthy of this, having this park in his honor. But the majority of Cubans in this area see Jose Marti as a hero. So Markus Feldenkirchen, these words, this exercise, my repetitive recording of this is, I feel it's getting better. It's not becoming stale. It's relevant. When I think of, it's easier to see Japan than it is to see my own country. And Markus is featuring Germany, the Holocaust, and the Nazis in a way that, of course, begs to look at that model. However, in the news this week comes up the model in Japan that I've known about since I worked for a Japanese company beginning in 2003. So that Japanese model of denial is in some ways a little easier for me to think about. And it's relevant and it's dangerous. What Markus points here in the United States, an American that can't do what I'm doing, not that they may choose not to, they've got a lot of other things to do. Not that they're obligated to do this, but if doing it is just objectionable, reading these words of Markus, letting people hear them read these words, Americans who can do that, I think in some way it's a relevant way to come to terms with the past. And it's healthy. Quite honestly, it feels good. For the sixth time, one American looks in the mirror. This has been Tom Doody, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. Does that man who just left sort of look like he might belong in Havana? It's where his fashion comes from. A lot of people in the neighborhood dress like that. Living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Doody in a Google search from my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.